All right. You hear me, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Yeah, we're going to have feedback. So I'm going to have to stop doing what I'm doing right now. Okay. Yeah, I was trying out something new. Good evening, everybody. I know this is our off time. We're not usually on this time. Tomorrow is our usual time, and I have a guest here, so I, decided to have a discussion. Um, uh, Brother Arthur Dominic, can you give us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself, please.
All right, what's going on? My name is Dominic McDonald. On Facebook, though, you probably seen me as author Dominic N. McDonald. I am a poet, spoken word artist from Los Angeles, California. Currently living in the DMV area by way of Washington, D.C. I'm 33, graduate of California State University, Long Beach, with a degree in English creative writing. And when I'm not performing and doing poetry, hosting open mics, I'm working in, various different types of gig jobs and, doing things that give me an opportunity to be my own boss. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, for people that don't know, which nobody knows because I don't tell anybody anything. I just, randomly do stuff. This is bothering me. Hold on a second. Excuse me, y'all. Because I'm getting feedback. I don't know why that's doing it. Anyway, like I said, I usually just do things, and so how my brother get here is that he did a viral post. And I'm not going to go into right now what the post was, because, I want to have a discussion first and then we could get into the post. Um, but what stuck out to me, it was in a poly group. And I've done shows with poly people in our community. We have an idea that, black people have a thought that this is not something that black people do. So I've done a show, I think it was about 2 years ago. Me and my sister, we have a podcast. We did a show concerning poly people. We had a African American person, a couple on there, and we had one Hispanic and African American male. That was the couple, and they kind of explained the whole ins and outs of polyamory and their relationships and everything, their love style. And you put the post up, and like it was not received well from the poly community, just to say that. And I caught your live that you did. I guess was it on Saturday? Oh, it was Friday night. That's what it was. That live that you did was Friday night.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I caught that, and something stuck out to me, and that's why I wanted to have this discussion. Um, I heard you say something about like saving the community. That was the whole idea behind it. Was like a saving community type deal.
hmm
Can you expound on that? Like, what were your thoughts to that?
Right. So my idea of this love style, for it to be something that makes sense, right? Something to actually be beneficial towards um, having purpose and a good quality of life is something that is going to be a part of a greater legacy, right? Because a lot of the issues that we have in the Black communities, we don't have generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the companies that we can go into after college that our fathers and our grandfathers built, due to the negative effects of white supremacy and so on and so forth. We also have the problem of absent fathers, whether they are locked up, whether they are dead, you know what I'm saying, or whether they just feel inadequate because they have succumbed to, the mental slavery or a lot of the traps that have been set to them by this history of white supremacy. So when I think of these love styles of polyamory, I'm thinking of them in not just a way to satisfy someone's internal lust, but a way for, what I'm saying, the future generations who are here in present time, in real time, to have a way that they can get that community, so they can get that tribe, in a sense that it is akin to our nature as Black and ADOS people here in America.
Okay, so the whole thing about the tribe, right? What do you know, like, historically about that? Let me scoot up so I can get something. Like, have you studied the whole tribe mentality, whole polyamory, as far as from a tribe aspect?
I haven't really studied too much. The only thing that I have done as far as looked at male and female relationships is the effects of absent fathers and a lot of stuff that was happening in the 80s and 90s, right? And I kind of see the patterns, and I see the hints of you know the formations of polyamory and so on and so forth. But I haven't gone back to really get into the contextual history of it, because it's, you have to do your deep dives and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of just looking at things at a standpoint of, you know, where was the Black community, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and how have things evolved into where they are now. So kind of just really just picking up the pieces.
So, like, before I say my thoughts on that, for the people that's watching or going to see this, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the screen in case you don't understand or know what polyamory is. Um, it's the philosophy or state of being in love and or romantically involved with more than one person at the same time. That's basically what polyamory is. Um, I've been on my little personal not journey, but I want to say just thoughts I've been having, for the last, I want to say, about 3 or 4 years. I've been having my own personal, like, things going on about saving the community, kind of really
Mhm.
looking at it from a critical standpoint. um this podcast here is on Tuesday, and it usually, what we do is we take a critical look at our community, the African American
Mhm.
community, from a historical standpoint. um you see that background says method to my madness. That's something I'm going to right now. And what I found, this term in Ghana is called Sankofa, and it means to look back
Mhm.
at the past. You're familiar?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I want to do. Like, I've been doing that, and we've tried everything in our community, right? We've tried so many things. We've tried a religion, we've tried
Right.
policies, politics, and for whatever reason, people shy away from this. Well, I know what it is. I'm not gonna say for whatever reason. I know what it is.
Right.
But they shy away from the thought process that poly lifestyle can actually work in our community. And like 5 years or so, I had this whole debate with some people. I'm in Facebook groups and stuff, and I debate about different things. And
Mhm.
I also had that same thought you had about poly lifestyle could be a viable solution, not to all, but to, like, the ones that find themselves in a position where, like you said, have children. And
Mhm.
to me, it's about raising the next generation to pick up this torch, to give them knowledge, give them structure and everything that a lot of them are not getting.
Right.
uh, you quoted the figures on the last podcast you did, and it's about 77% is single mothers raising
Right.
kids. So to you, like in your life, because the guy touched on this, and I want to find out from you, how would that look like to you as far as doing this uh, from the standpoint of, saving the community, giving back, or doing whatever? How does it look to you?
So really, right now, the best thing that we can do, and I feel as Black men, is to give our covering and our protection to these households that are not covered with a masculine male presence.
Mm,
Okay, and to a lot of people's point, some people do have uncles, and some people do have pastors and stuff like that. But those are people who are privileged to have that, and that is clearly not everybody, right? So it's really about the supplying the demand pretty much, and having a purpose for that, a strategic purpose. Okay, children need structure, they need discipline. Sometimes that's too much for one parent to do if they're trying to bring nurturing in as well. That's kind of where the masculine feminine presence come in when you're raising a child.
mhm,
Men need to be taught how to be men. They need to be taught how to have a rites of passage, right?
mhm,
And we've been limiting that to sports, but not everyone is athletically inclined. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying? So where are the artists going to get their discipline? Where are the people who are into STEM going to
mhm,
get their discipline? Into mechanics and so on and so forth, to understand how to go out into the world and work with other personalities and not clash with them or be ostracized with them,
mhm,
right? So for me, it, like I said, it's about picking up the pieces, okay? Because we can't turn back time, and we're gonna waste time sitting here shaming, men and women for their poor decisions, right?
mhm,
Which is not what I'm trying to do.
mhm,
However, I am also not trying to live an unhappy life picking up the pieces as well. You know what I'm saying? So, adult social contracts are about negotiation, and having a what I like to call a mutual benefit,
mhm.
right? It may not be equal benefit, but it'll be a mutual benefit. So that's really what it looks like for me. It can be very specific and strategic, but it is going to serve those who it needs to serve.
Mhm. And now I'm getting a different element, like you said, strategic. That to me, that is the key word and the dynamic you're talking about. Uh, before, like I said, I'm not gonna mention the article because that was it.
Okay.
It got you kicked out the group, actually. So
Yeah,
just
yeah, it did.
honest to the audience, it got you kicked out the poly group. Um, but what I want to say is that I don't think they really gave you any, they got triggered and didn't give you their ear. They didn't listen to you, and from what I got from that podcast you did, from the interview, I
Right,
heard in between the stuff that the guy was throwing out, they was just, throwing ad hominems, with the audience and stuff, and you know,
right.
uh his turtleneck and all that stuff. That's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about a deeper issue. You know, um, my my thing is that, in our community is dying. It's dying. As far as, with these kids, next generation, um, we can't just say, "Oh, it's gonna work itself out." No,
No, no, we definitely cannot.
big problems sometimes need radical solutions, and I see this as being the poly thing as being a radical solution. Um, like you said, I'm gonna bring this up too. This whole the poly thing you were saying about contracts and everything. Um, sorry. So this right here is this is basically it's not a contract, but it's basically a guideline of poly lifestyle. I do not cheat, I do not lie, I am not easy, I do not sleep around, I love bigger and deeper than most. My heart is simply too big for any one person to feel. I am poly, I'm love. Uh, I found that from a poly site.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that? That's you know how you see
Yeah,
poly.
yeah, definitely. And here's the disconnect. Okay, the disconnect is that people mistake polyamory for promiscuity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it would make sense for monogamous minded people to think that, because monogamous minded people use promiscuity in order to, in a sense, manipulate or cultivate a monogamous relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, you're going to do these unethical things. You know, you're not going to let someone know that you're interested in another person
Mhm.
until all of a sudden they're like, hey, now I have a child, or now I'm in this committed relationship, and the other person feels slighted. You
Mhm.
know, and I'm a product of watching, you know, my father be unethically non-monogamous,
Mhm.
right? And because of these connections, even as a child that I built with these different women, which
Mhm.
were very valuable, they had to end abruptly outside of my control, and there was harm there, and I was able to feel that harm. And I said I would never want to, you know, reproduce that harm when I became an adult.
Mhm.
So
Sort of like
I agree
separation
with this
anxiety or something
100%.
like that. You know, abandonment issue type deal.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, as far as with you, um, you were saying that in the just touch on a little bit. You were saying that you would the girl that you were interested in, the woman, I'm sorry, the woman that you were interested in has children, 2 children, right?
Right. Right. 4 and
Okay,
6 year old.
okay, 4 and 6 year old. And right now, what kind of role do you play in their lives?
Um, right now I'm just a friend, you
Okay.
know, and I'm very specific on how I enter children's lives
Mm,
when I know I'm not going to be in a long term relationship with the mother.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? But it became a thing, and I know how it's difficult to navigate with, you know, single women with their children,
mm,
because they know, like, oh, who is this person? This isn't my father. Who are they? You know what I'm saying? So I more so came in more of like a mentor, and that's my initial role when, you know, if I do meet a woman with a child, you know, like I'm a mentor. I'm just a friend, like
mm,
how you have friends at school.
mm.
They don't see us do any, you know, they don't see myself and the mother do anything romantically,
Yeah,
just so they
I
don't
would
question
expect
it,
you to
you know.
affection, nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, like we had a couple like play dates, like, you know, I took them roller skating, and,
Mm,
you know, we went to go out to eat a couple times. That was about it. It didn't really get that deep, but I saw it going there
mm.
because they were asking about me when I was gone,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
And I
good.
tried to make sure I try to make sure that the woman don't do that as a way to try to, you know, coerce me into the relationship,
Mhm.
because I've built that bond with the kids.
Using the kids for leverage to get you to do what she wants to do,
Right.
which is very real. I've been in that situation myself before, and that's one of the tactics I think single mothers use. Um, and then it becomes the man's problem or the man's to blame when it doesn't work out.
Hmm.
Um, did you explain to about you being poly?
Yes, I explained that um, after we had, you know, our romantic encounter.
Okay.
Um, however, and this is something that I want to make clear too. I don't, as a 30-year-old male, like, I don't lead people on. Okay,
Mm,
I don't play them games. Those games have been played on me. I
mm,
learned my lesson with that. I don't lead people on.
mm,
If someone is having a, you know, a mutual beneficial exchange,
mm,
then it's a mutual beneficial exchange, and we go our separate ways afterwards. You know what I'm saying? And I think that even though sometimes we can be clear and upfront,
mm,
people are still going to believe what they want to believe. You know, people are still going to try to pry and dig and pull back layers and try to
mhm,
find out what's the real reason, because maybe, you know, they're the ones that can change him, or they're the ones that can fix him or show them
mm,
something better. And with a man, ladies, once a man's mind is made up, it's pretty much going to be like that. You know what I'm saying? There's really no way that you can do that unless you're involved in some life changing event that man has. But it's usually, you know, it's usually not the case.
mm.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
to your point, yes, I was upfront. Not like initially, I didn't broadcast and say, hey, you know, I'm this person and I have all, because that could be kind of intimidating.
Mm,
But I did make that known before things got serious with the relationship.
Yeah. If I wasn't trying to be serious, there was a joke there, but I'm gonna let that go. Um, so how did she take that? I'm curious about that.
Um, it was one of those things that kind of shocked me because I was like, okay, this is going to be a deal breaker, and then that's not going to happen with them anymore. But they ended up still showing up in the same, capacity. So to me, that was saying, okay, they were cool with it, or maybe they're just going to accept this as what it is, situationship, whatever the case may be. But it seemed like even though that's what I expressed, they still would come back around and try to, re-propose the same thing. And that's kind of when I started to see like some red flags.
Okay. So to be clear, they were trying to maybe make you push your, towards monogamy, push you more towards monogamy,
Yeah.
gradually. So okay, cool. Um, so at that red flag moment, did you pull back, or how did that look at the time that you saw the red flags?
I pulled back a little bit. I made sure to express that I was spending time with my other partners because I do have two other partners. They are long distance, so they don't come around as often. And you know, I was also aware of other romantic pursuits that this person had as well,
Mm-hmm.
which I was okay with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I figured I'm giving her the same grace and the same energy, and letting her know that I'm okay with that. I thought that she was going to do the same thing as well, and we kind of just had to understand it.
So for people that don't know, I learned this in our podcast. The other people you had were called comments. They come around every so often. That's the term they
Mm.
usually give them, is comments. Um,
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
the term I was telling the people that's watching, the term that they usually give that, what you just explained, was called comments. The people
Oh
that come around.
yeah. I forget
Yeah.
this is a poly crowd, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I have one comment and one LDR.
Okay, so explain the LDR. Long distance.
The,
Oh,
the
the long distance relationship. I'm sorry.
yeah, long distance relationship.
Okay. Um. So she had other people. So did you see this? Because I've seen this in single mothers. Not to generalize, because people are always like, you can't generalize this. You can't generalize. Well, I mean, have key key things that people tend to do when they're in certain situations. There's only so many avenues you could go when you're in a situation. And what I tend to see in my personal life, what happened with single mothers, was that they would have this man for this, they have another man for that, and they have another man for this, which is
Mm.
kind of poly in a sense when it comes to the structure. Was
Right.
that what she was doing?
Um, it wasn't even that, like, it wasn't even at that level. You
Mm.
know, it was more so of I'm going to keep these options open until I find out what is best for me.
Okay.
And right now, this person is starting to look like the best, so that's where I'm going to start applying more pressure, as they say.
Yeah.
And basically it was what they call a relationship escalator.
Okay. It's using that for leverage. Okay, I got this dude over here. He got this kind of credentials. He got this going on. I got this one over here that's interested in me. So to try to push you to make a move, I understand that, because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, in that viral post, it was a whole bunch of terms thrown out. It's just like, this is misogynist. This is you using your position of power over somebody that's a weaker, or somebody has doesn't have financial all kind of stuff was thrown out. I just don't want to get into that. But as
Right.
far as financially, did she depend on you financially?
I wasn't depended on. I was asked, for a few financial favors, which out of the abundance of what I had and the goodness of my heart, I gave, and that wasn't really an issue, you know. And we're talking small amounts here, like $20 here, $50 there. I'll pay you back on 2 weeks, so on and so forth. So
loans, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I mean that's the way they were trying to like, and you couldn't explain yourself because they would, it's so much you could do in these groups, being that you
Right.
just type in, so there's so much you could do, and they was just throwing all kind of insults and different stuff at you, and you never got a chance to explain yourself. And I think in order for us to grow in our community, we have to be able to sit down with people, whether they think like we think or not, and come to some kind of understanding. Ask the questions, allow somebody to, give their answers, and then then if you got to debate the situation, because that's how intelligent people do. Um, Also, I think in our community, we also attack people more than we attack the ideas. And that's something I think we need to get away from.
Yeah, and that's not how you win the debates. Once you
Yeah,
attack
no,
the person, you lose the debate.
yeah, exactly. So you were mentioning about finding another woman. So you don't have anybody that you in mind, right? Of course, with this situation here, did you have anybody that you were serious with outside of the single mother?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So outside the single mother, do you have anybody that you were serious with? You were seriously pursuing?
That was no, I did not.
Okay. So what your post was saying, or your what you were mentioning, was that if you find somebody you're serious about, that you would like to start your own family with that person. They didn't have any kids. Put it that way.
Yeah, so there was no said person
Mm,
that was there,
mm,
and really all I was saying is that at some point in time, like we can have this connection, but at some point in time, I'm going to want to have a child with, a woman who is, our first child, right? And that wasn't necessarily saying that there was a woman in the picture already, but it was like, okay, since you are, escalating the relationship, since you are wondering why I don't want to be serious because you're a single mother, these are the reasons. You know what I'm saying? Because this person took it very, very personal,
mm.
and unfortunately, I think the manosphere.
One
Oh,
second. One second.
yeah.
Turn your volume down on your phone, and I want you to repeat that, because somebody said we're getting feedback, a lot of feedback. I think it's because your phone, the speakers at the bottom,
We're
are reverbing.
Yeah. Okay. Is that better?
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
it sound
Okay.
better on your end?
Yeah. You good? Go ahead. Now repeat
Okay.
what you said.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was that there was no woman in the picture yet, but I was letting him know these are my wants. I'm going to want to have a child with a woman, and it's our first child, so we can raise it like how we want to raise it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you already have your kids, you already are doing what has been going for them, and it's unfair to change that because I'm coming into the household, right? So you can have your autonomy on how you want to raise your kids, whatever the case may be. But as far as myself, I want to be able to have a child and look at it and see me, and I personally have felt at that particular time she had exhausted her resources and was still building. So having another child with her with the limited resources would not be ideal,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm someone who is a product of struggle love. You know what I'm saying? I'm someone who has survived. I'm not putting myself in another survival situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If I could help it. So that's another reason why I have proposed that offer.
So I mean, what people trying to say, right, is that what they're hearing is something might be problematic, and
Mhm.
uh, because you're going to, and I'm just repeating because I read this, but you're going to make another family on the over here, and are you talking about marrying this sister?
You said, was I talking about what?
Marrying the person you was going to have a baby with? You talking about marrying this sister that you're going to have a child with?
I was talking about marrying the single mother
Mm.
and then
Oh, okay.
having, yeah,
Okay. See, and that's the okay. Gotcha. See, and that's what wasn't translated, right?
yeah.
Um, do me a favor because they say every time I talk, I think it's because this microphone and everything. Turn your phone to the side to where the speaker's not facing down, to where it's not reverbing.
It's gonna,
There we go. Okay.
okay, is that better?
When I start talking, I'll be able to hear it. But um. So you talking about marriage? Damn, that's still there. Let me do something. Okay. You were talking about marrying a single mother. And I think they didn't understand that part of it. Is that you was talking about marrying a single
Right.
mother? What they looked at it is like the single mother's the victim because you were talking about going out and dealing with another woman, making another single mother. Um, so I caught something on the other one that you said. Yeah, you didn't want to stay in the same household. Is that correct?
No,
Okay, can you
no,
and
they would both
explain for,
be
for
in
my audience?
in.
You explained over there, but explain over here for my audience.
Okay, so hold on a second.
Mhm.
All right. I consider myself desiring to live bi-coastally.
Mhm.
I have a housing set up back in LA
Mhm.
that is being developed right now,
Mhm.
and I also have property that I want to buy out here, right?
Mhm.
So my thought process was that this would be a situation where I can establish family out here, with this particular woman because she's from the area, and then have another household to raise the other child in,
Mhm.
right? So that was the whole ideal around that. Um, so yeah, that's basically the other information that kind of was excluded, and you wouldn't be able to get unless we're having this conversation.
So okay, so you said something about contractual, right? Which
Yes.
for people that are speaking on the fact that you're making another baby mother, right? Um, I would say that marriage is a contract. So
Yes.
are we talking about you doing like paperwork, legal paperwork to protect this second your secondary and the child?
Yes. Yes. They will be protected under other assets
Mm,
that myself and the mother of that child would create and establish.
mm.
That would be different from what is going on with, the the affairs that I would have with the single mother,
With
right?
your wife.
And
At this point, it would be your wife.
yes, well, yes, who would be my wife?
Okay. Okay. That's what see. That's what that you see. I heard things. I'm like, okay, it's some things that you're not really explaining, properly, and people they're going on your words, and that's why they get triggered. And it's you just explain you want to marry you. Well, not you want to, but that would be you would marry this woman that has the two children.
Yes,
Okay, cool. Um, so yes, that person would be protected because you're married, you're legally married. The other
right.
person would be under a contract, which I have no problem with. I think if that would have got across to people because they called what you would they took my post down because I reposted so I could get some feedback, some questions and
Hmm.
everything. They kicked that, they threw that out too. And I'm like, okay. They said it was swinging. I'm like, no, it's not swinging. There's nothing that he said was swinging, but I think they got triggered, and it was like, okay, let's just shut this fool off, basically. Um, yeah, and like I said, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, we're talking about consenting adults, um, with protections. I mean, I don't see anything where uh, we're you're using somebody else, you're controlling somebody else, and you're what do you call it? I can't remember because me and my sister got in this big debate about the whole Brittany Renner thing and PJ Washington, and
Hmm.
talking about he was financially abusing her or something mess like that. That's what it is, financial abuse. So I don't see this as
Okay.
a financial abuse situation, um, being that you're trying to protect by giving a contract. Um, let's go back to our community right quick.
Okay.
For the people that have a problem with this whole your idea. So this is theory. We don't have anything written down. We don't have any kind of figures on children being raised in a polyamory community or polygamous or however you want to call it, the poly lifestyle. Put it that way.
Hmm.
We don't have these kind of figures. So this is theory we're talking about. But we do have figures the way we're going now, the way things was going with black boys, right? Um,
Hmm.
not having a father in the house, they're susceptible to gangs. Um, they're susceptible to just misinformation. Uh, Basically, systematic.
Substance abuse.
Yeah, substance abuse. There you go. Yeah. Systematically, we have what we call an attack on masculinity, basically. So, um, what do you see in your theory? Like in a theory, how do you see? Let me think. So the numbers, okay, like we see, we're 80% pretty much single mother led household.
Hmm.
Um, don't you think that's kind of idealistic to think that this would create a change that would affect, to turn this situation around we have here? Do you think it's idealistic of you?
I don't think that it's idealistic because the reason why a lot of men who are in a position where they, date or marry single mothers are unhappy is because they don't see the they don't see the legacy in their work, you know what I'm saying, or they see the complications in their work. For instance, I was at the barbershop and this man was 45 years old and said that he just recently went through a divorce, and part of the reason was he helped a his wife at the time raise her children, and by the time they got to the age of 35, he was
Excuse me, folks. I think we have, I think he's froze up over there. Go ahead. You froze up. Now go ahead. About time. Go ahead. Help raise the children.
okay, right. And once the children grew up, they said, I want to seek out my biological father. I want to have a relationship with him. So just
Mhm.
like, all right, thank you for all that. I appreciate that. But now I'm going to take the focus off of you. And that's the kind of the wild card. We don't know what these children are going to do once they grow up. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how they're going to come. We would think, and sometimes it works, and sometimes we would like to be assured that once they become adults, that they would still keep us in their lives as parental figures or so on and so forth. But we don't have any control over that.
And you have no protection, basically, financially or whatever. Um, I've heard that I can't remember the its specifics of this debate, but there was a debate about a father, a single mother had a daughter. The stepdad raised this girl, and then when it came down to she's going to get married, she wanted to take a real dad down the aisle, and it was like, do you think that's wrong? And there was a whole debate about that, and you got people
Mhm.
talking about this stuff, but that's very real. Um, you can't control the situation, and a lot of times I think stepfathers get the raw end of the deal because they have all the all the burden is on them, and then none of the reward when it comes down to it. Um, where do you see? Well, you already said for the woman. So for the man, right? For the man, what do you see men gaining out of this? Because in that situation, you said that man sacrificed his time, his money. It was all sacrifice on the man, and what you're proposing to do right now would be take a little bit more sacrifice on the woman to being a single mother, right? She's
Mhm.
her children are gaining. Her children are the ones that gain, and that's what I think people don't understand is that you know what you're proposing to do. It would it would be a sacrifice on the woman, but her legacy will gain from this. So,
Right.
um, what do you say for the man doing this? What is he gaining from this?
So the man is he's gaining loyalty, and he's gaining the fact that he's actually doing something about his environment. Okay. So for instance, on the educational level, um, in this particular example, I had just did something like help read a book to the child. You know what I'm saying? And she got a report that her reading levels went up 80% the next week. You know, just because she has someone to be in her life. You know what I'm saying? She was motivated to do better, but because she had that extra, you know what I'm saying, parental figure. Um, and a lot of men like want to do that, like, 'cause that's satisfying. You know, and you already see that there's not a lot of male teachers. Okay, there's not a lot of black male teachers in the education system, so our kids are growing up living their life without the presence of a black man
Mhm.
or presence of a black man, and it's suffering in the relationships when they get older because now they don't know us or understand us,
Mhm.
and they've been living so long like they don't even really want to,
Mhm.
right? And that's the issue why a lot of relationships are failing because no one is really caring about what the black man wants because when the black man wasn't there, and they've been surviving so long without him. So now when he shows up into the picture, it's like, oh, well, what you doing here now? I really don't need you. Now you need to get on my program.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it doesn't matter what you want. You need to do what I want.
yeah. And what you're describing, I won't, it's a black community being a matriarchy or a gynocracy. Basically, what you're trying to describe after generation to generation of women-led families, the black men have been diminished in that situation. Um,
Exactly.
it's and like I said, I've had those same thoughts. So me sitting up here talking to you like this, I've had the same thoughts, but it's for the audience. Um,
Mm.
what I would say the men gain is that like when we're in Africa, um, they had one male over the tribe, one male he would have several offsprings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what I would say in this aspect, it would be like it would be this tribe can pool their money. Your kids you made and this other tribe here will become a blended family, so to speak. With you
Right.
in the male as the head of that, and could come together and accomplish more things versus your one child that you have over here. If you were monogamous and you have over here one child, if that's all you want to have is one child, then that child is just out here in the wind, and left his own devices versus them having other kids around them that can help out and that can aid in everything, especially going forth when you're not here. I think we as adults,
Exactly.
older, us. How old are you, brother? I didn't even ask you that.
I'm 33.
33. Okay, so I got you by 15 years almost. Yeah, 15 years. So us as older people, it's like in my generation, we just okay, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and we weren't worried about ourselves. And I think we have work to do. Before we leave this earth, we should be doing work, and that's why like what you were saying, it's I think that would be part of men that have been diminished to do that type of work to give
Mhm.
back. Like you said, you mentioned sports. Like sports is a very limited. I coach football, so that
Okay.
you have a very small time with these kids, and usually trying to teach them the sport. You can't really impart life lessons with these children.
Right.
Um, but and I've like I said, I've been in that stepdaddy road also, and I've also known that um, while you there, you can influence this child to do things, but as soon as you're in the mother, it's gone, right?
Hmm.
Then that's gone out the window. You know,
Right.
whatever you didn't taught this child pretty much goes out the window. Even if you like, even if y'all continue to be friends, what you want to say or what you have to say about the children usually goes on deaf ears because you're no more longer anything to me. You know,
Right.
just like when there's a father, the actual father is like, well, we're not together, then you have no say so in the child life. And I think that's going to be a sacrifice on the woman's part, um, to kind of put their ego aside and understand the bigger picture.
Mm.
Uh, we've uh, in mentoring young men, they always say, well, you need to, black men need to mentor other young men and this, that, the other. But I think this is something like we've never tried to do this.
Right.
People shun this type of lifestyle, um, and it kind of bothers me a little bit because we can accept same sex marriage.
Mm.
We
I was
accept
just
that,
talking to somebody about this the other day.
but we can't accept what you're proposing to do. And you actually, whether let's say whether if we believe it, if I believe wholeheartedly it's not going to work, right?
Hmm.
You are trying to propose a solution to a problem.
Right.
And everyone, like everyone I talk to, everybody I've heard talk about it, understands the black community has a humongous problem. They understand this, but we can't pray it away. We can't just act like we keep continue doing what we're doing and it's going to change by itself. It's not. Um, what do you what do you see in your life, right? What do you see as far as because you said the other one would be LA, right? That's what you
Yeah.
said. Okay,
Hmm.
that would be LA. So how do you propose? Because once again, I have knowledge in this because I have a son. My oldest son was in New Orleans. You know,
Hmm.
I left when I was one. It's by another woman, and my youngest son is here with me. And what I did was crazy. Every other month, I'm back going to New Orleans, driving back down there. Uh, sometimes making 7 to 8 trips in a year,
Hmm.
to spend time with my son. How do you see that working though?
Right. So I am going to have to lean on the guidance of the peer group for the children who are already older, right? Because they don't need as immediate attention as a toddler, or a newborn, and so on and so forth. So I would probably spend more time, currently with the wife and kids until maybe they get to like middle school or something like that. Because at a certain point in time, like when we were kids, we didn't want to really deal with our parents. Like we wanted them there for major accomplishments, graduation, so on and so forth. But it's like I'm not about to kick you over that. Like I have friends, like, and they're gonna think I'm a loser if I'm not hanging out with them and hanging out with my parents. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
So
actually talking about your child, your legacy. I'm talking about
yeah.
not the one with your wife, your legacy.
Oh the what? Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Well, yeah, I definitely would be there for a longer extended time. And this is one thing that I did not share on this podcast is that I don't mind my partners having another male presence, in the house, as long as they have an understanding that you coming into our house.
Mm.
So you're there to fulfill the purpose to satisfy whatever it is my wife or my partner wants, but you know, please be respectful to what it is that I have going on, because then you would have to be able to take on this responsibility. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that people have to understand when they are dealing with, you know, men who want to come in and there's the fear of them taking over. It's like, okay, if you want to be the king, you got to wear the crown, right? So if you can't wear the crown, you have no business trying to sit on the king's throne, right? But like I said, I would spend more time with the child that I create as they're becoming a newborn and so on and so forth. So it may be 6 months with weekend visits back to the other place, but it's nothing to get on a plane, because I'm an entertainer and I travel for performances and so on and so forth. So that's already incorporated within my lifestyle and my career style.
So you would be okay with a man staying at the house with the other one, your house that you provide? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, if that's what my wife wants. But here's the thing: most of the time, since women are more agreeable than men, as long as they have the understanding that I am loved, that I am under a protection of my man, they very minimally will step out. Okay. Now this is going to rile a lot of people, because some of them have that rebellious spirit and so on and so forth, which is why they're not in long-term relationships. But that's beside the point. Typically, like if there's a widow, like for instance my grandmother, my grandfather died over 13 years ago, but my grandma still has a relationship with him that is sacred, to where she doesn't want another man. You know what I'm saying? She could have been had another man in the house, but she doesn't want another man, because she understands she is under the spiritual, mental presence of my grandfather still, even after his passing. And that's the thing that we don't like to really address and talk about, but it's there. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of level that I want to be on with my partners, where we have that understanding, to where it's like, okay, you can, if you have needs that you need to be met, that's fine. But, you know what this is that we have going on, and that we're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize
that. I think so. Like I said, once again, I'm more of a logical, pragmatic person. It's just um, I think a lot of that what you're saying is you can't emotions, right? You can't like count for the emotions. Like somebody's over here, whether you're in LA, then you got the other one over the East Coast. It it can be very very tricky. Like I said, I've done this with
that.
my sons. I've done that, and also with the kids. I mean, when your kid get of age to understand, um, well, he's over there with the other ones, and but I'm his real son. It can be very tricky, and that's the only pushback I had when I heard your the other podcast, um, is that you're not going to be close to them, right? You're not going to be the same household. What I would say is that being, and if it's not the same household, being with maybe across the street, or in the same complex, or however that goes, but being where you can physically see this child almost every day. That's what my thing would be, as far as if you're going to do this. I mean, you have to be more hands on. you know we in our community, we think getting child support from a man is actually, or the man giving child support is actually, oh, he's raising his child because he does child support, or he's, whatever. And it, the presence is what actually is needed more than anything, I think. And that's the only pushback I have with that. Like the idea of what you're talking about, I can, I can agree with, we need to do something. Black men, we're being asked to do a lot more, and I'm saying, this whole movement, don't date single mothers type deal. You've heard that, it's going around the internet. And if you're asking black men to take on something that's not theirs. It doesn't bear any rewards other than maybe sexual, their own sexual urges being fulfilled. Um, you can't ask somebody to give that much and only receive that little. So, like I said, from the standpoint of uh, community building, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Mm.
Uh, oh, also what I forgot to touch on, like the people that was talking this religious stuff, right? Um, you know, they don't understand that was in the Bible. Like
Right.
Polly was in the Bible. Anybody that's religious needs to understand that. Go look at the Bible. Go look at what's King Saul.
King Solomon, King
Yeah,
David,
King
a lot
Solomon.
of
There you go. King Solomon, David. Yeah. Yeah. How many wives? 100 wives or something like that.
right.
I can't remember. But yeah, God was okay with that. So I mean, I just don't understand the religious people that don't acknowledge that. You know, we throw the
Yeah.
religion thing. That's an
Because
art.
it's been romanticized too much. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And um, there has been these social contracts that are around these very strict boundaries of monogamy that go against human nature, that go against male nature,
Mhm.
right? So now it's like you are suppressing a lot within yourself, and you kind of like brainwashing yourself to stay suppressed,
Mhm.
and you still act out on it. So it's
Cheating.
like,
That's why
okay,
cheating happens.
yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
like I said, I'm with you as far as a solution. You know, it has to be a multifaceted solution, but I'm with you with that being a solution. It's just that we have to start. We have, first of all, you got people walking around here that don't think there's a problem, that think
Hmm.
that men are not needed, and I think that's a bigger problem in itself because it it brings on future generations that don't see men being well, they see the men as being the problem. That's what it is. That's
Yeah,
my problem with it. They see men as being the problem when men are basically the solution. Masculinity is the solution. These kids don't have that masculine role model in their life, and statistics show that kids that have fathers in their lives do much better. Um, the males that are in jail, they say like 90 something percent of them didn't have a father in their life that are in
right.
jail, they're locked up. So, that's part of the solution. So like some of these arguments they were hitting you with, I think it has no basis to it, the straw man arguments. Uh but I wanted to give you an opportunity to, to talk about it and hear your thoughts because I didn't think it was presented well. Um, it was some of that was disingenuous to me. Um,
Yeah,
I,
and I'm definitely open to more conversation about the specifics of it.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? Because right now it is an immediate solution,
mm,
and I like to say everything is impossible until it's done.
mhm,
Right? So I like to think positively about a situation if there's anything that anybody wants to contribute as far as them knowing about childhood psychology, about regular psychology, or about if they've done it before and how it works and so on and so forth. I'm open to those conversations as well because as me being a travel minded person, I definitely don't want to do this alone. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Without any help or any solutions. I'm open to solutions and what other people have to say, as long as it's constructive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would be curious. I mean, I want to, yeah, I want to hear about how this goes. Actually, if hey, you feel free to hit me up and and give me a little rundown. Hey, this how it's going because I'm curious about it. I like to study situations how people operate. Because until we actually look at it, like you said, seeing it is being done. We don't know we don't know the possibilities. We don't know where it's going to go. So I'm interested in that. I appreciate you coming through talking to me. Yeah, you have anything else to say? Because you can promote yourself. You got anything going on?
Right. So, like I said, I'm a Polish poet and
Mm,
spoken word artist. You can find me on Instagram at Nerd the Poet. I have a book out, The Love Song of Deaner McDonald, which talks about my experiences with love and relationships. So you can kind of see my journey into relationships. And, you know, there's going to be a volume 2 and 3 of that coming out this year. I'm on Facebook, author Dominic N. McDonald. I'm in the DMV area, sometimes LA, and I'm open to connecting with people if you want to have me on, you know, your, you know, show, or if you want to host or anything. I'm pretty much approachable as long as you're being respectful. So
Yeah, I'm gonna tag you on Facebook on my Facebook page with this, so you could put it out or whatever. And
okay, cool.
also, you can go in the comments. You can put all your information in the comments, so people can reach you. Like I said,
Okay,
I have no problem with you. I didn't see, I think they didn't understand. I think people just throw out insults and get closed minded because, in the community, certain communities, they're hypersensitive about people calling themselves part of the community and not representing them. But the thing is, you've seen the map for what Pilot can look like, right?
yeah,
It looks like a child just drew on it.
right,
I'm like, how the hell does this man not fit in this damn community where you got all these lines going over? I was gonna copy that and put it up there, but I ran out of time. But I mean, it's all over the place. So how can this man not fit in that? That y'all already got all this stuff. Yeah, you can keep all these lines. Oh, that's Polly, but this dude right here is a problem. He's a problem. It's crazy. I mean, I think if anything, you're honest. And I
yeah,
commend that. You're honest. If anything, you're honest. So based on that, hey, we can talk. You're being
right,
honest. I think a lot of people like to get accolades. They like to get, attaboys for having the right answer and the right mind frame to what fits what's supposed to be poly and all this other stuff. And I don't think that's I don't care about that. I don't care about terms. It's like you have a lifestyle, you have what you believe in, and if you find somebody else believing the same thing you believe in too, and that was going to go along with it, then fine, you can be happy. You know
hmm
what they're doing to you is like other people trying to do with them in the poly lifestyle, like monogamous people trying to do them, and it's just unfair. So, like I said, I appreciate your time, and come and have this conversation, and you have an open invitation to come back and talk about it, and tell us what's going on with it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I gotta head up to another podcast, so
Okay. All
um,
right.
I'm gonna close out. But thank you so much.
All right, brother. I appreciate your time. Yeah. So people, I'm gonna have more discussions like this with people that feel different ways. It's gonna be totally based around, well, not totally, but it's gonna be based around like furthering our community, like doing things within the community that I think is gonna maybe help out in ways that might be uh off the beaten path. Um, Catch me tomorrow. Me and Eric will be here tomorrow with our the spirit of Sankofa, right? And we're gonna dive into the welfare system. So, like I said, I appreciate y'all coming through, join this conversation. The first of BlackMALEd Discussions, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. You have a good night. I'm still here. I'm still here. All right, have a good night. Peace.